Okay, this is chapter number 2. Charlotte watched from the stable as Mr. Milchard walked up and down in front of the line of boys, beaming. The prospective parents followed him. Now and then they stopped to say a few words to one of the boys, but usually just to the younger ones. Charlotte had stopped lining up a time ago. She was never considered for adoption anyway. People want boys to help with their farms, or a son to carry on the family name, or they want someone young and cute. Once, when Charlotte had been as cute as they come, a couple came through the kitchen with Mr. Milchard. The wife saw Charlotte standing on a stool washing dishes. Oh, I had been hoping for a girl, but they said there were only boys here, said the woman. She smiled at Charlotte with a warm come home with me eyes. With as much politeness as Charlotte could muster, she said, Yes, ma'am, it's boys except me, and she smiled back at the woman. The woman walked over to her and took her soapy little hand. For an instant, Charlotte hoped beyond hope. But Mrs. Boyle marched over and scooped Charlotte into her arms. This here's my niece just helping out in the kitchen, seeing for adoption. Come on, Charlotte. Before Charlotte could say a word, Mr. Boyle carried her out the back door and took her to the garden to pick beans. After that, Mrs. Boyle hid her in the potato bin each time people came through for fears of losing her kitchen maid. Charlotte remembered the dark crowd being and lying on the lumpy potatoes. She would hear Mr. Milchard saying, And this is the kitchen where Mrs. Boyle prepares our meals. She remembered peering through the cracks in the wooden slats at the people who came through. Sometimes Charlotte wanted to push open the lid and jump out and yell, I'm here. I would like a home. Me, take me. But more often than not, Mrs. Boyle sat on the top of bean so Charlotte couldn't budge, and Charlotte knew better than to make a peep until the people had gone. Charlotte went back to the horses. What would be the point of lining up with the boys anyway? Even though Mrs. Boyle couldn't hide her in the potato bin anymore. Nobody wanted an almost grown girl. Freedom seems worse. Bern hovered around her for a hour trying to figure out what was wrong. She just kept shaking his head, and Charlotte got a bad feeling deep inside. Later, as Charlotte served the soup at dinner, Hayward whispered, We heard someone got adopted. Maybe it'll be William. Nah, said Charlotte. We ain't that lucky. Who do you think, Charlotte? Asked Hay, but Charlotte didn't answer. Any other time she would be as noisy as the rest about who is was, but all she could think about was freedom. As soon as she finished the dishes, she went back to the stable. She wanted to do something, anything, to make freedom better. She sat next to the filly until well after midnight when Bern finally sent her to bed. We won't know nothing till the morning, he said. Reluctantly, Charlotte returned to her room. She tossed all night anxious for morning, but she knew she couldn't check on the horse until after breakfast. Would she survive? Sweet freedom. She just had to make it. Charlotte tried to hurry through the Sunday morning dishes, but Mrs. Boyle would have none of that. Charlotte, don't you be giving those dishes a lick and a promise. You scrub those pans until they're clean, she yelled. Charlotte thought she'd never finish. When she finally bolted out the kitchen door, Hayward was waiting at the back steps. "Let's go check on Freedom," said Charlotte, almost running. "Charlotte, wait. I heard I heard who's been adopted," said Hayward as he hurried to keep up. "Yeah? Was it one of the Johnsons?" "No," said Hayward. He stopped right where he was and waited for Charlotte to turn around and look at him. "Well, if it ain't William, I don't really care," said Charlotte. "I don't care much about anything right now except Freedom. You coming or not?" Hayward hesitated. "Yeah, I'm coming," he said. They hurried to the barn. Freedom's stall was empty. Bern must have moved her to the small corral to let her get some hair, Charlotte said Charlotte. They turned and started toward the pasture, but when Charlotte saw Bern walking toward her, his face totally dark. "The infection got the best of her, Miss Charlotte." "No," Charlotte clenched her hands. "Me and some of the older boys buried here behind the south pasture. Been out there all morning." She went she went really easy in her sleep. There was nothing we could do. Charlotte nodded. She squeezed her eyes tight. "She was a really nice horse," said Bert. "Yeah," said Charlotte, "but she didn't cry. She never cried. Ain't no shame in mourning a loss, Miss Charlotte," he said. But Charlotte pretended she hadn't heard him and walked over to a stall and called to the stallion. He came over and nuzzled Charlotte's hand. "You sure have a way with them horses," said Bern. Charlotte nodded as she stroked the horse's head. "You go right ahead and rake them stalls if you a mind to it." "You the best stables boy I've got," said Bern. "Sometimes I don't know what I'd do without you in here tending to these animals. You my right hand in this stable, Miss Charlotte." Charlotte forced a smile. A feeling crept up into her throat and made it hard to swallow. She felt like she was on the verge of something. She tried to shake it off. When she couldn't, she grabbed a rag and started working. She tried to concentrate on the raking, but all she could see was her last glimpse of freedom, lying in the straw, breathing heavy, her eyes closed. "Charlotte," said Hayward. She had forgotten about Hayward. He had wanted to tell her something, but before she could ask, Mr. Milshark's stern voice startled her. "Charlotte!" he yelled. Charlotte couldn't remember Mr. Milshark ever setting foot in the stables. Bern stood up immediately, and Hayward, who was even scared of mists of Milshark's shadow, fled to the tag room to hide. "Bern, just a few words with Charlotte and I'll be on my way," said Mr. Milshark as he turned to Charlotte. "It's been brought to my attention that some of the townspeople don't think it's quite lady. It's been brought to my attention that some of the townspeople don't think it's quite ladylike for you to be raising the boys. Our reputation here is of raising strong, strapping young men, and we can have folks calling our boys mollycoddles now, can we? You are getting close to being a young lady, and you need to start acting like one. From now, from now on, you will have full duties in the kitchen with Mr. Boyle. The stable is off limits to you." Bern looked up from his work. He never questioned Mr. Milchard, but he said, "She's asleep in the stables. She does the work of three of them boys, and she knows the horses as good as me." "Is that so?" said Mr. Milchard. "I heard that she rode a sick horse in the race yesterday, and that the horse died this morning. A young man wouldn't have made such a foolish decision. She'll stay in the kitchen where she belongs." Mr. Milchard turned and left. Charlotte looked at Bern. "He's got a cold heart, Miss Charlotte, and you know you had nothing to do with Freedom dying. I'm really, real sorry. I'm real sorry. Maybe he'll change his notion." Charlotte couldn't speak. She ran from the stables. She ran hard, without stopping, toward the tree line behind the pasture. She hated this place. Mr. Milchard would never ever change his mind. Hayward called after her. "Charlotte, wait!" She slumped against a tree and bent over to catch her breath. Hayward caught up to her. "Charlotte, you all right?" "I don't know. Hey, stinking old Milchard. I can't think of nothing worse than not working with the horses. I can't wait to leave this place. Whoever got a doctor is lucky not to have to look at Milchard's face ever again." "I have been trying to tell you, Charlotte." Hayward looked down at the ground and drew a circle in the dirt with his boot. He didn't say anything, just kept looking at the dirt. "Hayward, what's got into you?" "It ain't William who got adopted. Well, you see, oh, it was me. It's a family from Nashua. Name is Clark. Their boy died, so they came here to get one to take this place, and that's me. I met him this morning, and the lady kept patting me on the head, and the men keep calling me son. I guess they don't mind about my ears." Charlotte stared at Hayward like he was talking crazy talk. Surely it couldn't really be true. Why, Hayward was 10. He couldn't leave now. They had plans. She took a deep breath and felt her stomach do a flip-flop. A voice came out of her mouth, but it sounds strange and shaky. "That's real nice, hey? I asked them if they want a girl too, but I guess they don't." Charlotte looked out over the pasture and nodded her head as if Hay were telling her some every news. "Oh, well then, when you leaving?" she asked. "Tomorrow morning." Charlotte nodded again. Tomorrow was Monday. They always help burn soap the breathless on Monday. Of course, they could still change their minds. "Do you think they'll change their minds, Charlotte?" Charlotte looked at his worried face. Getting adopted was what every boy lied for, even Charlotte that those dreams. Dreams of a home, dreams of a family. At least Hayward would be in a better place than the orphanage. She shook her head and reassured him. Now she reached out and ruffled his hair. "You are just what they want, kid." Charlotte sat down under the maple. She felt like someone had sucked the wind from her. Her hands shook. She sat on she sat on them. She sat on them to keep them still. Hayward sat down next to her. "I'll ride you, Charlotte. Then you'll be the only one here that gets letters." She looked at Hayward. His ears stuck out hard from under his cap. Charlotte closed her eyes. She realized that she had been hoping for something for a long time. She'd been hoping Hayward's ears would keep him at the orphanage forever. "Charlotte," she opened her eyes and said calmly, "I am leaving too." Hayward looked at her like like she lost her mind. You can't, you are not old enough. The last boys, the last boy that ran off got caught and owed the overseer 2 more years past 16. Charlotte felt a determined anger welling up inside her. Hayward, don't try to talk sense into me. You are leaving tomorrow. I can't work with the horses. You know that Mr. Milchard will think of some reason to keep me here forever. I ain't working in that kitchen for the rest of my days. You and me got plans. Hayward jumped up. They'll find you, Charlotte. They always find the runaways, and Milchard's his mean he'll punish you. He can if he can't if he doesn't catch me, said Charlotte. I just know I am staying here to deal with William and Milchard and old Mrs. Boyle. We know with that you or freedom of the horses to keep me company. Now I got to think of a way. Charlotte knew that a young girl couldn't travel without a chaperone. She stood up and put her hands on her lips and paced around in a circle, staring at the ground. She kicked at the rock until it flew into the air and landed in the pasture. She wouldn't need money to live, and when she got away, where would she go? She would need a job. Who would hire her? Don't do it, Charlotte. Charlotte looked at him. She looked at his hair stuffed under his cap, his overalls, his overalls hanging crooked to one side. She already missed him, and he hadn't even gone yet. It wasn't fair. None of it was fair. Not even that she couldn't travel alone. A young boy like Hayward could travel around without a question. As she considered this, a trend, a tendril of an idea began to wave itself around her mind, and a plan began to take shape. I got up. Hey, she said, but I am going to need your help.